Hello again, YouTube family. Thanks for joining me on this video. And today we are talking about the Capitol Riot Commission from the events on January 6th of this year, when a rabid right-wing mob stormed the Capitol, broke through doors, windows, vandalized the outside of the Capitol, the inside of the Capitol, and the amount of money damage is insane. I mean, there was a report probably a month or so ago that came out from the Capitol architect, where he was putting out the amount of money it would cost. It's going to cost. They're going to repair the Capitol. They're going to fix the Capitol, and the amount of monetary damage was immense. But the Democrats wanted to put together a 9/11 style commission to investigate the Capitol riots, what was behind the riots, why there was such a security breakdown in the Capitol. I mean, this is the worst attack on the United States Capitol since the Civil War, since the entire country was at war. And that's part of what I want to touch on here, is that I don't think we are that far from war again in this country. Civil war seems to be brewing, not going away. So you had the Democrats who put Benny Thompson, a Democratic representative in the House, together with John Katko, a Republican representative in the House, to come together, talk, discuss what they want to see in the commission. You have some Republicans who said they supported a commission on January 6th, who then ended up not voting for the commission on January 6th. And John Katko was supposedly in communication with McCarthy, the Republican leader in the House, as I'm sure Benny Thompson was in communication with Pelosi, the Democrat leader in the House, as they tried to put together a bipartisan commission. And the thing is, the Republicans had like 11 or 12 demands in order for a commission to be put together. In order for us to agree to a commission, you need to do all these 11, 12 things. And the Democrats said, okay, we want a commission. We want to investigate it. We want to figure out why it was able to happen, why they had as much success as they did attacking one of the pillars of democracy in this country, the legislative branch. And so, yeah, you can have all the things you want, which was Republicans wanted an equal number of Republicans and Democrats on the commission. They wanted to have Republican and Democrat leadership both having to agree, like the commission would have subpoena power. They could subpoena people to come testify to their commission, and Democrats conceded to that, to where in order to issue a subpoena, both the Democrat and Republican leaders on the commission would have to agree for the subpoena to go forward. So you had Democrats who gave Republicans everything they said they wanted for a commission to happen, and in the end, the commission legislation in the House passed. It passed with 35 Republicans who joined all Democrats to pass the House commission legislation. It was killed in the Senate via filibuster. Some of the Republicans in the House who did not vote for the commission, including McCarthy, the guy who wanted these 11, 12 things in order for a commission to happen, when the Democrats said, okay, you can have those things, he said, yeah, I'm still not voting for it. And in the Senate, they filibustered it. You had some Republicans who did not show up. You had some two Democrats who did not show up for the vote. And the legislation for doing a January 6th commission was killed in the Senate. One of the people who implored senators to support the commission was the mother of Brian Sicknick. Brian Sicknick is the cop who was injured or sick on the day of the riots. He died the next day in the hospital, and you have differing accounts of what went on. You had people that said someone threw a fire extinguisher at him, hit him in the head, and he felt sick. He went later and passed out in the office. Then you have people saying, no, he had a heart problem, and that's why he died. But his mother showed up to implore politicians to do something they can do in an investigative commission on what went on January 6th, what was behind it. And her quote to the Senate was, "My son is dead and I want to know why," which, for anyone who is a parent, certainly anyone who's a parent who has lost a child, I'm sure you understand that. If your son or daughter is killed, dies mysteriously, you want to know why. Why did my son die? Why did these people attack the place where my son or daughter works? 6 Republicans in the Senate voted for the commission. They were Mitt Romney of Utah, you had Sass of Nebraska, you had Cassidy of Louisiana, Portman of Ohio, Murkowski of Alaska, and Collins of Maine. 9 Republicans and 2 Democrats abstained from voting. They decided not to show up for the vote because when you're that high level of a government official, I guess you can just decide not to do your job when you don't want to do your job. The Senate vote was 54 to 35. 54 people voted for the commission, 35 against, and the 35 who voted against won. Because democracy? The attack ended with 5 dead and 140 officers injured on that day. You have a video from Representative Clyde. That is the first video I want to show, and this is that.
And to call it an insurrection, in my opinion, is a bold-faced lie. Watching the TV footage of those who entered the Capitol and walked through Statuary Hall showed people in an orderly fashion staying between the stanchions and ropes taking videos and pictures. You know, if you didn't know the TV footage was a video from January the 6th, you would actually think it was a normal tourist visit.
So Clyde was claiming in his video that the riots on January 6th looked like any normal day of tourists in the Capitol. He said you can't call it an insurrection because they were very respectful, very nonviolent people who were just staying within the confines of where tourists are allowed to stay when they visit the Capitol. And so I'm assuming that's what he believes this was. This is just normal people visiting the Capitol. It's like any day at the Capitol. And people are visiting, beating a cop with a flagpole. That's what people in America do on any given day at the Capitol, is we beat cops with flagpoles when we go visit our nation's capital, because it's just part of what the visit is, We dress up with our face paint and our Viking helmets, our buffalo hats, or whatever that is. Go there, no shirt, a bullhorn, shouting racist slurs at black cops, shouting things at the politicians who are hiding. And one of the things that's come out since Clyde made his comments, you have Andrew Clyde, who's a representative from Georgia and is a gaslighting coward, who had made his comments that it's not a insurrection because it looked like any normal day of people touring the Capitol. since he made those comments, not video, but photographs have come out of Clyde barricading himself in his office, afraid of these normal Capitol tourists. I guess on a normal day in D.C., when you have tourists touring the Capitol, Clyde runs to his office and barricades the door because democracy? I don't know. And I wanted to discuss this commission that failed. I mean, what failed was putting together a commission that was bipartisan. That failed. Republicans, in the end, a majority said, we don't want to go along with this. We don't. You know, you have a number of Republicans who had brought up the 2022 midterm elections, which shows where their loyalty is, and that is to them remaining in power. And they were afraid that if a commission was started, it would run into next year, even after Democrats gave Republicans, the Republican leader in the House, McCarthy, one of the things he wanted, which was an endpoint of December 31st of this year. No matter where they're at in the commission, it ends December 31st, which is a bad way to do it. I understand Democrats were trying to be bipartisan. I understand they were trying to get this magical unity thing that not just Republicans, that politicians suddenly think is so important. They were trying to give Republicans what they wanted to put this commission together, and which was an endpoint, which guaranteed the commission would not run into next year. But what Republicans were afraid of is when they are running for re-election, having a commission on this Capitol riots would bring it back into the forefront of people's minds, that it could affect them in primaries, or it could affect them in a general election, running for re-election. And that's what they did not want. They did not want the embarrassment of the fact that they are attached to the party that is attached to this. They did not want that prevalent in the minds of voters as they went to vote in primaries or general elections and during the midterms. And so Republicans are afraid of doing their jobs. They're afraid of investigating this commission fully. You have some people who have made disingenuous statements, like Mitch McConnell, who I don't think has ever made an honest statement in his life. I assume he's not. And Mitch McConnell had claimed there are over 400 court cases of people who had been arrested from the Capitol riots. We'll find out from that. No, we're not going to find out. Those court cases are not investigating the Capitol riots. Those court cases are individuals who are participating in the riots, trying to defend themselves in court to avoid any kind of jail time, any kind of monetary penalty. That's what the court cases are. They're not going to investigate what was behind the riots. They're not going to go into looking at social media to see, how many people organized for the riots, how many of the people that participated were just people who showed up for the Trump rally that went there and joined in with the mob when they stormed the Capitol. There are a lot of things that aren't going to come out from the court cases that you could discover with a commission. Granted, the Democrats were putting together a weak commission because of things like putting a definitive endpoint. It ends at this date, no matter where they're at on their investigations with the commission. And so it was killed. There's still a possibility that Democrats, because they control the House, they can put together a commission within the House. The House can do it themselves, can put together a commission to investigate the Capitol riots, and in doing so, they'll give Republicans some of the ammunition they wanted in all of this, which would be them saying, well, that commission doesn't count because it's partisan. It's only Democrats. Democrats didn't want us to play along, so they put together a commission themselves, which would be untrue. But Republicans are going to say it because Why do they give a damn about lying? They lie all the time. And that's the path they would take, is to say, this commission that the Democrats put together as a partisan commission, it's all Democrats, and they're fabricating stuff for the commission report. That would be the story of Republicans, if Democrats did that. I don't know that Democrats are going to do that, because I don't know if Democrats have the guts to just go ahead and do something that should be done. And because Democrats, for whatever reason, are afraid of bipartisanship. They're afraid of the partisan commission ideology. They're afraid if we put together a commission ourselves, Republicans are just going to say, well, it's partisan. And that's true. That is true. Republicans would say that. Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, all the right-wing talkers would be claiming it's a partisan witch hunt. Probably they'll use Trumpinology, the Trump terminology of claiming it's a partisan witch hunt, the commission, because it's all Democrats. Yeah, they'll say it. Even if you had the bipartisan 10-person, 5 Democrats, 5 Republican commission you were trying to put together, those same people would say the same thing. I mean, let's face it. You know, you had people claiming that if Bernie Sanders was the Democrat nominee in the 2020 election, Democrats or Republicans are going to claim that he's a socialist, and it's going to hurt your chances to win. And what happened? Joe Biden was the candidate, and you had people on Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, all the right-wing talkers saying he's a socialist, a communist, whatever. They're going to say it no matter what. The truth does not matter to Republicans. It never has. It never has. And they don't care about truth. It's all a matter of messaging and branding. It's how do we put together a message to gaslight the American people? You have a situation where politicians and folks in the media believe that people are stupid. And they're like, how do we put together a message to fool all these stupid people? And that's what they do. Still, the Democrats need to put together a commission. And the reason for that is we're not through. This isn't over. You think the attempt to overthrow the government ends with the January 6th riots just because they did not succeed? We're in a situation right now where you have Donald Trump, the former president, claiming that he is going to be reinstated as president, which is not a thing. That doesn't happen. There is ways to become president. You know, you can get elected as president. If something were to happen to Joe Biden, the vice president becomes president. Kamala Harris would be the president, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump's claiming he's going to be reinstated as president, and there's no such thing as reinstating a former president. There's a line of succession to the presidency, and you look down it, and you've got the vice president, the Speaker of the House, the Senate pro tem, and on and on and on through cabinet members in the executive branch. There's like 18 people in line to be president, none of which are the previous president. Along with Donald Trump continuing the lie that he won the 2020 election and it was stolen, you have people like former General Flynn, who is also perpetuating the lie that Donald Trump won the election, it was stolen, he's going to become president again. And recently in a public setting, you had former General Flynn, former National Security Advisor Flynn, traitor to the United States of America Flynn, who was a actor for foreign countries while he was National Security Advisor of the United States, Flynn, saying that what we need in this country is what happened in Myanmar, the militant overthrow of the government. And that's where you're starting to get into the dangerous situation that we're in America, where you have too much of the Republican Party saying they are willing to take back the government with guns. You have elected representatives like crazy QAnon lady Marjorie Taylor Greene, like alleged child sex trafficker Matt Gaetz, saying that we have a Second Amendment for the news media. We have a Second Amendment for the politicians we don't like. We have the ability to own guns to rule via power, to take rule of the country by guns. These are Republicans. These are not just Republicans. They are the Republicans who are ascending. Mitch McConnell is not ascending. He's been in the Senate forever. He's been a politician for most of his life, and he's descending. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, the ones that are the biggest Trump sycophants, the ones that are taking this messaging of we need an authoritarian takeover of the government, they're the ones that are ascending. They're the ones that are getting this large amount of support from the Republican base. They're the ones who are driving it when you see Republicans in interviews saying they're willing to have a civil war to get Trump back into office. I mean, we are not that far away from a civil war, the outcome of which will be America is still America, or America is a banana republic with Trump as the dictator. We're so close to that right now. And I don't know what the catalyst would be to start having people do that. I don't know if it's as simple as Trump signaling to his sycophantic base, the time's now, go attack state houses, attack Washington, put me back in office. I don't know if it's as simple as that. I don't know if Trump understands the precipice we're on right now. For Trump, it could simply be that he is a insanely dumb narcissist who likes the idea of saying, I won the election, who likes the idea of saying, I'll be a president again. And he doesn't realize the ramifications, just like his speech on January 6th, that when he was telling these people they have to fight to save democracy, they have to fight to save America. He's going to march down to the Capitol with them to stop the certification of Joe Biden's election win. And they did it. Trump didn't. Trump went back to the White House and watched it on television, supposedly gleefully, from the people around him. Extremely excited, thinking that his supporters were going to get him back into office by force. And he would be okay with that. Trump's biggest appreciation was for the right-wing dictators around the world, the strongmen around the world, who rule their countries by force. That's the people he admired when he was president. And we aren't that far away. We need a commission, a real one, not a partisan one, not a bipartisan BS one. We need a real commission that's going to look into the lives of these people that participated in this, to look into their social media, to figure out what was driving them, to figure out how many of the people had plans to do this before it happened, how many of the people were spur of the moment Trump sycophant supporters who joined in the mob when it happened. to figure out what the plan was that day. And further than that, because we have our national security apparatus saying there are people who are planning this again. They're planning more of this. I live in Nevada. In Nevada, you have the Proud Boys who had members in this January 6th insurrection now looking to try and run for and attain public office. People who were doing this are trying to look at the ways they can change these things. They're trying to get into public office now. And it's going to get worse. And the only way you can combat this kind of thing is with knowledge. And in order to have knowledge about this insurrection, we need to investigate it. And that's why we need a commission. And if it's Democrats only, so be it. As long as the Democrats don't try to put together a biased commission where they're just looking for negative things to say about Trump or other Republicans, because it wasn't just Trump that caused this January 6th riot. It was Trump. It was a large amount of Republicans in the House that supported his vile rhetoric that he won the election. It was stolen. It's a number of people in the Senate, including traitor Josh Hawley, traitor Ted Cruz, all of the traitors who claimed that Donald Trump had the election stolen from him. People that tried to gaslight. You have this ridiculous Andrew Clyde, the representative from Georgia, who, I mean, his video is just gaslighting. And that was him talking in the House. That was video from the House of Representatives. Him gaslighting, trying to say, no, this insurrection was, supposed insurrection was just a normal day of tourists at the Capitol. They were behaving. They wipe feces on the wall, but what tourists don't wipe their feces on the wall? They stole mail from representatives. Normal day. They stole a laptop from the Speaker of the House. Normal day at the place. They were carrying out podiums. Yeah, that's what tourists do. They like souvenirs. And Republicans are too weak. You have some that are intelligent that are too weak to do what's right. You have some that are just dumb and also weak to do what's right. And so the Democrats need to put this commission together. They need to make sure it does its job. And they need to not put an end date on it. They need to say, you investigate everything about the attack, about the people involved in the attack, what the factors were that drove them to do this, and if there are future plans. Look at what our national security apparatus is finding on further plans to try and attack democracy in this country, attack the foundations of the country. Because right now you have people like the MyPillow guy and Donald Trump and disgraced former General Michael Flynn claiming Trump's going to be back in office again this year in August. What happens to these deranged sycophantic fans, the Trump cultists, when that doesn't happen? Because it cannot happen. There's no way for it to become reality. That is a absolute pipe dream. But what happens to these people who believe it? Do they become violent? Do they believe that someone stole something else from them? It's not true, but that doesn't mean they won't believe it. We need the commission because we need to figure out what happened, and we need to make sure it does not ever come close to happening again. But that's the video for today. I thank everybody who watches my videos. Please, if you like the videos, give me a like. You can just click the like button while you're watching it. And please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. You can share it on social media. Try and help me out along the way. And thanks. Have a good day.